Hi, Pisces. Welcome to November. Here we are. Can you believe it? It's been a wild ride this last year, I have to say. And coming in with you guys, I feel like I'm like riding in on a crazy wind or something, which is an interesting thing to say, but it's like landing a plane, getting off the plane, and getting into the next phase. There's almost like this impatience and this hunger with you guys that I'm feeling for November, which is interesting. I think it's partially because the energies that be for this month, they're nuts. They're very much, we need to integrate some big things and not be moving all the time, making noise. That's for everybody. You guys have some specific things going on though that are giving you this kind of like firepower boost where you're just like, okay, I'm ready. And yet it's still going to be a time of integration. It's still going to be a time where you're going to want to be checking all the way along, paying attention to the details. This is a month where we all have to pay attention to the details. So what's going on with you guys? You have, Mars will be going into your sign in the middle of the month on the 15th, I believe. And look what came out already. Justice and the Hanged Man. This vibe for sure. So you have Mars, the warrior, forging forward spirit energy going into your sign. Now, Mars isn't necessarily at home in your energy. However, when you have Mars with you, you are going to be feeling maybe a little bit itchy, irritable, ready to move, especially because the first half of the month we have the Venus retrograde still going on in Libra. And then we have the same day that ends, we have Mercury retrograde going retro in Sagittarius. So you still have this slowdown energy that's asking you to check in, even with Mars there. We also have the true node of the moon going into Cancer on November 6th. Seven of Swords. Uranus is going back into Aries on that same day. There's a lot happening this month, as you can see. Even just me trying to summarize it is a lot for any one sign. But for you, the key things, you have Mars going into your sign. You have your planet going direct at the end of the month. You have the north node of the moon moving into Cancer at the beginning of the month. And that's important for you to have a north node of the moon where we're all headed, where we're all focusing our attention. In a water sign and a sister sign is going to be very flowing for you. And you also have a new moon in Scorpio, which is huge for you because you're going to be checking in with your big vision, with your big mission in life. Knight of Cups and the Hierophant came up. Yeah. And then we have this full moon in Gemini at 0 degrees of Gemini near the end of the month, which is in your 4th house of your family, your internal space, like your internal space, you know, your hidden secret internal space. But as you can see, there's all this forward motion, focus, drive, ambition coming in, and then a whole bunch of retrograde action tempering it and slowing us down. You know, and Scorpio season's a great time for you guys, and most of the month we will be in Scorpio season. You're assessing where you want to set your goals, set your sight in life. Let me say what the note is that I have for you though, because, we can talk about all these aspects all day long, but what I really want to get to the heart of is the intuitive feeling of this month and what you're wanting to pay attention to. So you need to honor your magic steadfastly this month and be slow and gentle with it. You don't have to pronounce everything out to everybody. This is a month where you may want to be a little bit secretive about what you are planning and plotting. You are going to feel hungry for the adventure and for the change and for the shift and for the announcements. The star. Nice. You are going to feel hungry for the adventure and for the recognition. Take a breath and watch where you are, because you may be very tempted to be pushy with yourself first and foremost, but also with people around you, the people you want to be cooperative components in your life. You might find that you're pushing. Three of Cups. I'm going to pull one more card and then we'll talk through. Because you have that anxious, impatient Mars energy with you, honestly, it is. Mars is a very impatient energy, and he's, not at home in your sign, but ready to make some moves. Oh, you guys, these two cards just fell on the floor. It fell again. Four of Pentacles, Five of Pentacles. We will talk about this. This is an underwriting energy. What was I just saying about paying attention to where you're feeling really hungry, where you're feeling really starved, where you're feeling like you just need to make something happen today, because if it doesn't happen today, it won't ever happen, and then your value won't be there, and then it won't happen, and maybe it's never meant to happen, and maybe it's not meant for you, and maybe it's not going to work out. We'll talk about that though. That is an underlying message to everything else that is going on for you this month, though. The cards are telling me a pretty profound story about the legacy you are building and why it matters that you take a little bit of time to be soft with the magical process of this and to be protective of your energy and keep it a little bit under wraps. Let's start with these first two that popped out together right away, right? Justice and the Hanged Man. These are very tempered energies. We also have Jupiter going into Sagittarius. This is the Sag energy right here, the Jupiter sigil. It's actually more of a Jupiter energy, Jupiterian energy of the Hanged Man. And this is going to be your keynote for the month, honestly. Jupiter going into Sag for you, especially if you're a Pisces rising, this is about your reputation in the world and what mark you want to make on the world as far as you as an individual striving forward in the world. And, once we head into Sag season at the end of the month, 22nd, 23rd, you are going to be feeling that energy as well. But here's the thing. These energies are tempered, right? They don't act rashly or out of impulse. They're very much about observing what's going on. Especially internally, especially when you have the Hanged Man. It's not to say that things aren't going well, because these cards are very benefic. They are very positive, right? But they understand that the way to get what you want is to play a longer game and to take the time to look very carefully around you. Take the time to parse it out. Anything that is meant for you will come through you and with you with ease. Anything where you feel like you have to thrash around and make a lot of noise and make it look cool or make it seem cool to yourself or try to push it, something's a little off there. And that's what you're supposed to be paying attention to, because that's not your magic. Your magic is in this subtler energy, right? So the first thing that's coming up, my lovely Pisces, I love you guys so much, is to take a breath. If you're feeling irritable, take a breath back, because you have something going on here. With the Seven of Swords, there's an aggravation going on. There's a feeling of aggravation, impatience, and uncertainty even about where you're supposed to be putting your energy and your thoughts, right? Seven of Swords, I often say, is associated with imposter syndrome, that sense that you're getting away with something and that you have to look over your shoulder, or like you feel like, are you the thief in the situation? Is somebody else the thief? Are people getting away with things that shouldn't be getting away with things? Where are things going right or wrong? What's the real story? But a lot of times I find that this is that feeling that you are getting away with something, and that you don't feel like you're allowed to do it because you have to look over your shoulder. You have to be sneaky and stealthy. So if you have a situation coming up in your mind, in your process, in your life moving forward here, that's giving you this feeling, look at that. Now that can have to do with a relationship. Are you feeling like you have to look over your shoulder constantly? It can have to do a lot of times with what you're doing in the world, the process, the work that you want to be sharing with the world, where you want to be putting your energy and your effort and your talent and your skills. Do you feel like you are not allowed to go there? Do you feel like you are getting away with something. That's the theme that just keeps coming up. So this is why we're having this assessment. Once again, the Venus and Mercury retrogrades that we are having, because we will have one or the other going the whole month. They are saving graces because they slow us down enough to just take a minute and look around. You know, your Venus retrograde is happening in the 8th house too. It's in Libra. Justice is associated with Libra. So that first half of the month, really pay attention to where you are feeling lack and hunger, because there's something there that can be adjusted. And I don't even think it will be that hard to adjust. A lot of it is a mental state, but just take that time, utilize it wisely, because the second half of the month, we have something big formulating here. Let's look at these next 4 cards, because altogether they are fantastic. They are everything you want. As Mars goes into your sign, look what starts coming up. Knight of Cups, Hierophant, Star, and the 3 of Cups. Now, these 2 on the end, these Cups energies, which really flow with you and really give you that boost of energy, are beautiful. They're celebratory, they're communicative, they are romantic, they are sweet, they are friendly. This is about spending time with people who really value you and express well and flow and jive with you. Some of you may be even getting some kind of offer this month. Now, be careful with that. With Venus retrograde, just take your time. Everything this month, anything that's good, you just need to take a little bit of extra time to let it build up before you jump all the way in, right? So these energies are beautiful. There's something to celebrate. There's something to enjoy. There's some kind of energy coming in here that is celebratory and joyful for you. And it has to do, I really do think it really has to do with what you're building in the world, the legacy you want to leave in the world, what you want to create in the world, where you want to use your magic, your Piscean magic, because I think a lot of you have secret projects, things you care about, things you want to be sharing that have been fomenting for a while. And here we go, right? Hierophant and the Star. So these are fixed, focused energies that want to bridge the gap between the spiritual and the physical. You know, they're associated with Taurus and Aquarius, but I think more importantly, what we are really looking at is 2 figures, 2 entities that look at bridging the gap between the spiritual and the physical realms in 2 different ways. The Hierophant's going to look at it more in the sense of the structure, the traditions and the on-the-ground structures that you can use to do that. You know, I really think about him, you know, with your religious belief, with your dogma, with your beliefs about your spirituality. In Scorpio season, that's getting highlighted over and over again for you. And with that new moon in Scorpio, and with all the Scorpio energy we're going to have near the beginning of November, you're going to be really assessing that. How you want to utilize the structures on the ground, the beliefs, the big vision that you have to create something, right? And the Star kind of comes from the other direction. The Star comes from the spiritual side and says, how can we apply some of that healing nectar here on the ground? How can we take a much less rigid formulation and bring it here to give people ease and comfort and love, right? So you're looking at it from 2 perspectives at the same time. And I think it's really important to find a balance between these 2, because we need them both. And what I'm kind of seeing with you is you may have had times in your life where it felt like you had to choose one or the other of these. Okay, well, I guess I'll just, you know, do what I need to do on the practical level and just use the system as it is and just give up and flop over and let my soul in this meat corpse body or whatever, you know, like float around. And like, I've seen you guys when you're in that mood. And I've seen you at times where you're like, no, you know, this life is about something deeper and richer and more meaningful, and I wish people would understand it. If you can find a balance between these 2, a way to understand that they're both, and I think, you understand it. It's just that this is an internal battle going on. These are both really benefic cards, but there's something about you calibrating these 2 so that they come together and they create a cohesive vision for you. Now, this is something long-term. This is a long-term project. This is a long-term goal. This is a long-term life commitment of some kind that is coming up here. And it is bookended by these beautiful cups energies of romance and friendship and celebration. So there's something going on with you guys opening up a new era. That makes sense to me. You know, a lot of pressure has been kind of lifted off of you doing some of the heavier lifting introspection. And now the energies are starting to move in a way for you that is going to very much support you pushing forward into life. Now, we do have something really important to talk about, you guys, because when these two babies come out together like that, and they insistently did, they fell on the floor twice, we got to talk about your self-worth and your self-value. And that's where I kept getting this note with you guys, like hunger. Whenever we feel really greedy or hungry for something, like we're just really ready, it's like, I want to have it happen today. I want to have it happen today. There's something triggering within us that says that we're not allowed to have it, which kind of goes back to the Seven of Swords, right? I always say intrinsically, when you have these energies working with your spread like this, there is something really important getting highlighted that is triggering your old survival tactics. There's something beautiful and big and inviting that is asking you to grow into a bigger form of yourself that is automatically triggering the old mental, material survival skills that we often get when we are very young. Our association with money, with security, with grounding, with value, with worth often gets established very young age. You know, no fault to our parents, but almost all children witness an adult, a guardian, a parent struggling with money and value and feeling that there's not enough. And it is very strong. Now, this can really translate into how you relate to relationships. You find people who cannot reciprocate, or you find, you know, jobs that will constantly underpay you, or you don't go for that project because you feel that you're not allowed to go for it. You feel shut out, you feel far away from it. So when this stuff gets triggered up, you're going to be noticing it, which is once again why these retrogrades are so important, and we need them as much as people like to complain about retrogrades. We did not have them. We wouldn't have the chance to just sit down and understand that this is one part of our experience, and to honor it and to give it a space to breathe and to release it. Not to mourn it, not to get deeper into it, not to like give it a seat at the table necessarily, but to sit with this. Where are you stopping yourself? Where are you feeling that deep hunger and then stopping yourself? And how can we replace that deep sense of hunger with a little bit more of this bright, healing, connected energy that I see coming up for you? Now, here's the thing, you guys. The month is gorgeous. This month is gorgeous for you. I want to reiterate that if I'm sounding a little bit stern with you today, because the energies here are like, you got this. Opportunities abound. The key with it is that you have an underlying narrative going on that could be very quiet and yet quite disruptive. Pay attention to it, because you can have as much success externally as you want. You can be booking appointments, and you can be making travel arrangements, and you can be connecting with people that you really want to be with, and you can be starting new relationships. But if you have this other narrative that I see underpinning the whole thing, you have more likelihood of feeling like you want to sabotage it, of not riding through the way that you need to ride through it. When you listen to this type of voice as well, here's another little nugget before we kind of close out today. When you listen to this voice, you miss the cues. You miss the cues and the information that the big matrix machine that we are in, it's not really a matrix, but it's this idea that we're in a very complex experience. Things are auto-adjusting all the time. Tiny little details are constantly being brought together to bring us together, to lead us in a direction that we want to go to reflect back at us what we already know we want. It's very fast micro adjustments that take some practice to perceive, right? And we all are practicing our perception of those. This month is especially important for paying attention to that. But when you're in this mindset, you will not be able to perceive all the little micro adjustments that are constantly going on around you to help you get to the next point. So the possibility is there for you to kind of feel a little bit drugged down and tired this month, or irritable and hungry and feisty. And you don't have to go through it this way. You're just going to have to put on a slightly different lens to look at what's going on, because you are being asked to reassess, you are being asked to integrate, and you are being asked to take a moment. You guys like to dive right in. Dive right into the story. And that's great, and I love it, but it also has that shadow side of getting you into situations that don't serve you, and getting you down a path that doesn't really fit with you. So we want to use your magic in a way that is meaningful for you. Okay, I want to close it out there. Like I said, the energy is beautiful. This Knight of Cups is right at the center of this reading, I just want to say. And the celebration here. And the other thing too, Hanged Man is abundance. But abundance via connection to divine, not abundance via lots of external action. You guys get that? You're tapped into higher source. You can do this. You know how to do this. So with that being said, my loves, if you are interested in the Venus retrograde toolkit, I will leave that link below. It's a video. I did every sign, so depending on what you want out of that, I will leave the link for that. You can do your rising sign, you can do your sun or your moon. Great tool if you're kind of struggling with the Venus retrograde. I also have an overarching video on YouTube as well that I will leave the link for below. I will also leave all my info, my website, and my email. I do private sessions, but I book up a couple months in advance. So you'll want to plan ahead. I think I'm booking in January as of recording right now. And you can follow me on Instagram at the SARAHTAROT. I'm so excited. We're having so much fun over there. I really enjoy seeing you guys over there, so I hope you'll join me there. I'm wearing PinkLune's gorgeous jewelry as always, so I leave her 15% off discount code and her Etsy shop below. Please check her out. She's just amazing. And have a beautiful November, you guys. Hang in there. Save your magic for what really matters.